Welcome to another live stream. This is Keith, Life Journey Production Studios. Thank you for joining me, and hopefully some more people will jump on tonight. We're going to talk about my actually almost 5-year audio journey here on the channel. I know lots of you are going to think I've covered this before, and I've covered bits and pieces of this, but I have not covered this exactly, so let me know everything sounds good and the lips are in sync. I have just now turned on recording, so I am recording. We are live, and again, our video is about the right megabits per second at 6.9 right now, so that's great. So just want to welcome you to the live stream again. Tonight we're going to be talking about, well, three things in reality. If you stay to the end, I may reveal something about myself I don't think I've ever talked about here on the channel, at least for 4 or 5 years. And so we're going to talk about that. I do have a poll up right now. It's kind of important to me. It's going to give me just a little bit of direction here tonight to make sure that I have your permission. So the question is, do I have your permission to get a bit transparent tonight? So yes or no. 2 votes for yes, no votes for no. So far I'm doing okay, and I don't know if I have more than 2 people live with me tonight, so that's great. Again, we're going to talk about our 4, possibly 5-year audio journey here on my channel. I'm going to talk about how I ended up where I began, and I'll explain that here in a little bit. I also want to touch base and show you behind the scenes of the streaming bridge. I did use a streaming bridge last week. We were able to go live at the very last minute. My internet was down all day long, but last week we were able to get live. And so I went live from this room. I also went live from another room on Facebook. And so if you watched last week's video here on YouTube, you're not going to be able to see me live on Facebook. So I am releasing a video sometime tomorrow, I hope, Thursday morning, which combines both of them. It's pretty well edited. I need to watch it 1 or 2 more times to make sure there's no problems with it or glitches before I upload it, but that will combine last week's live stream. I've edited out a lot of the stuff that's not necessary to focus on using the streaming bridge, going from this room to the other room, and I received a video stream from the other room in here, or from this room in there, using the streaming bridge, and we're going to talk about the behind the scenes of the streaming bridge, the 9.7.1 update, and what they updated in the streaming bridge. There's been a few updates over the last year in the streaming bridge, so we'll talk just a little bit about that later tonight. And then I have a reveal, a little bit about myself, and it's going to have to do with this 4 to possibly 5-year journey with audio here in the studio. And if you know anything about live streaming, obviously microphones and interfaces and audio is really important, especially with the ATEM line. They don't have the greatest preamps. I get noise in my ATEMs. It doesn't matter if it's been generation 1 or a generation 2. With the ATEMs Extremes or the ATEM Mini Pros, seems like the preamps have quite a bit of noise. It might be from power. So you want to make sure you plug your ATEM into a power conditioner, and we're going to open up one tonight here in a little bit that I purchased, and this is not for me. This is going to a project I'm working on for a friend / client. It's kind of a interesting relationship, so we'll talk a little bit about that. But we're going to open this PDU Power Strip Surge Protector, and again, it's by Pyle. And we will unbox this, and these are super inexpensive. I think this was under 50 bucks, and it's just made to condition and protect the devices that we're going to have on this project. So we'll unbox this here in a little bit. And then behind me, I have a number of devices. Let me see if I can't show this. Let's change cameras here. Then I will say hi in the chat. Don't need to do that, or do I? Let's go to this camera. And let's see, turn that camera off and reveal this camera. And then let me cut to channel, what is that? 6. So here's a look at a couple of the devices I have on my desk behind me. We're going to talk about one I do not have here. It's at the venue, but there you go. That is my Studio Live 32SC, and we've had that on the live stream before. That right there is a second version of my Rodecaster Pro version 2. And then next to it is the Rodecaster Pro version 1. And we're going to talk about my 4 to 5 year audio journey. We're also going to touch base again on one that's not here. And then let's see if I can get this one in the shot over my shoulder. I have that one here as well, and we'll talk about that here in a bit as well. So that's where we're going. I have a different camera angle, hopefully, that we'll be able to show you all of those tonight. And but that's going to be a lot of fun. And just double checking what camera angle I have here. I think I'll probably use this to start. But anyway, let's say hi to everyone that's in the chat right now. So let me enable chat, turn my cameras off, and let's see here. Chat on the air. So Grish said hi earlier. I hope he's back. So welcome, Grish. Hank is in the house. So thank you, Hank, for being here. Checking in from stormy, hot Bluffton, South Carolina. So it sounds like it's been a little difficult there. Akil Polka is here in the house. Hello. Angie, my good friend and adopted older sister's here. Does not surprise me because she is hoping that I might make that reveal earlier. She's on the west. I'm on the west coast. She's on the east coast, like some of you are, and it is getting later there. 3 hours from right now puts it at 7 o'clock. And then obviously people are going to come in tonight from different times all over. But that's high. I have missed a few live streams over the last number of weeks because of my ankle break. Give you an update. I am doing really well. I am in physical therapy, and I'm starting to get most of my mobility back in my ankle, which is really good. I can put all my weight on it. I can stand on just that foot, and I'm still having a little trouble with this pivoting right here. It gives me the ability to do steps correctly. I can walk and do that really well now. And I've been on my feet off and on all these days. And some days I've been on them on pavement. Sometimes I've been on grass. I've been on hard soil, farm grounds, uneven. Last night we scouted out a location for the tent up in Moses Lake. You can look it up. Forget the name of the park, but I will let you guys know in future streams as we get closer to that event. I will be flying to Tulsa to see a friend of mine in Chattanooga in August, but I will be up setting up that tent event for 2 days, and then I won't be there for that tent event, so they'll have other people running sound, but that'll be a lot of fun. We scouted that location out last night, and I did a couple thousand steps on uneven ground in that park up in Moses Lake, Washington. And again, that park, can't remember the name of it right now. I'll call that old age, but it's right off of I-90, which is the major interstate that goes west, east in the state, or you can go east, west on that highway as well. So good to have you guys with me tonight. Again, Hank says that sounds 5x5, so that must mean my lips are in sync and the audio levels are great. That is awesome. So again, tonight we're going to talk about my 4 to 5 year audio journey. And again, audio is very strategic to the whole live streaming situation that I'm in. So you can obviously do it from an iPhone. The newer iPhones have really good cameras, really good audio. Obviously you have better cameras if you face this side. Most people like to face the portrait side, or actually the camera that's here, because they can see themselves at the same time. But this is the better picture on an iPhone, and they have good audio now on iPhones, as long as you're really close to it and you're not in a real echoey room. But if you were to shoot yourself in a closet, this phone would sound amazing. And so if you do stream or shoot videos on your phone, you can get pretty decent audio. Just remember, if you are back from people and they're far away, these microphones won't be as powerful as using like a lapel mic like this, which I'll have on when we turn around and talk about what's on the desk. And so I can switch between this microphone and this microphone, because when I turn around, this isn't much good. So the 4 to 5 years I've been in this studio and my bedroom studio, which we did have a camera from last week, I was going to show you guys a real quick, let's see if I can find this video on Facebook. And if you go to last week's video in the chat, there is a link to my Facebook page. But here I am, me and my laptop. There I am right there on Facebook, streaming last week from my old bedroom studio. Now, when I was in my bedroom studio, I had the camera about where that clock is, and then I would shoot back towards the rest of the room, which would show the edge of my bed, the nightstand, the window, and that was where I originally started shooting. And so I do have a video that I will be uploading in the next couple of days that will combine both the Facebook video and the YouTube video, so you guys can see me using the streaming bridge. So I had a camera set up, set up in my bedroom, and I was using the window light, so I'm not super well lit in that shot, but that is over on my Life Journey Productions Facebook page, and you can see the link up here. So if you want to go over there and like that and join me over there, I will pop this in the chat tonight, so you guys have a link. But I would suggest you go there later if you haven't joined me over there. But I will be doing some live streaming on this channel in the very near future. So, and I'm going to do some separate things over there from what I do on YouTube. And I'll also do some streaming from both my YouTube channel, which you guys are watching me on right now, and my Facebook channel simultaneously. And that's why I demoed some of the ways I can do that. I do have really good internet when it's working. And again, a shout out to Mark with PETA. They got everything up and running. It wasn't his fault. His provider had an issue, and so they had to put 2 new devices up, and they got all that done, and the 2 of them communicating with Mark's help at about 3:59 last week, and we were able to go live. And then I was also able to go live on YouTube, and in the other room I was streaming to Facebook. And again, so this room was blank, I wasn't in it, and in the other room I had this feed as well as a camera in there. And I have that camera set up behind me here tonight that I'll be using when I turn around to the desk, but I have to turn that on before we do that. So again, thank you so much for joining me. I see we have one. Let's turn that off. Let me fix this. Now I'm a little bit confused. What just happened? Skycam on, off. Okay. Chat on. So it looks like Doug has joined us. So thank you so much for joining me, Doug. I really like Doug's channel. So I haven't been there in a while. I apologize, Doug, but check out Forced Online. And if you would like to subscribe, he's got some good product over there. So I think I've said hi to everybody in the chat. Small crowd tonight. But again, there's the link if you guys want to go over to Facebook and check that out. So got videos playing over here on my other channel because I clicked on that link. So Tonight, again, we're going to talk about my 4 to 5 year journey for audio. I'm going to talk about some of the different interfaces and how I've ended up back at my beginning. And because I'm going to be talking about my beginning, it spurred some things inside of me that I'd like to share before we get off the air tonight. So please stay with me until we get to the end, because I am going to share some things about myself that I don't think I've ever shared here on this channel. And I'm going to share a reason why tonight as well. So again, this channel has been mainly about live streaming tech, as well as now we're talking a little bit more about audio. Occasionally I share with you guys where I go and how I use audio and video in different places. But most of my streaming has been right here in the studio. And when I started, I was in another studio, and I'm going to show you guys a shot of that here right now. So let me find this. So let's do me and my desktop. Where are we at here? Me and my laptop. So in this shot right here, you can see that I'm actually live a long time ago on this Facebook page that I'm talking about. So this is me talking about the Rodecaster Pro version 1. When I first started streaming, I was using OBS. And I've got OBS right here. I use it to make my still images. So when I first started live streaming, I was just using a microphone that I could bring into OBS into my laptop. And then I was using OBS to live stream on Facebook. In fact, I think in this video, it's hard for me to know. I think I was actually using OBS in this Facebook video, and I was talking about the Rodecaster Pro version 1, and I have that in the studio. Just going to shoot forward here. There I am showing a close-up of it, and also, let's see, I had my phone out here. There's my phone, and I was showing how you could connect your phone through a cable and use it to bring in guests. So my journey, and actually, you know what, that night, I'm pretty sure I was using my Rodecaster Pro into OBS. And you can use it as a USB interface, and I was using, I believe, this microphone, but I don't know if that is revealed in the video. Let's just see here. Yeah, I do have this microphone in the studio. So it's later in that studio. You can see the bed in the background. You can see the curtains in the background. I was shooting in the bedroom back in those days, and I had to clean up, make sure that I never messed up and put my wife on the spot. So so what I want to do right now is I am going to go back to this view right here. And I'm going to bring this on camera because it's just easier to do it this way. And I'll try to stay on this microphone. I can switch to the other one, but I did buy a cover, and you had to get this from, you couldn't get this from Rode, so I had to get it from a different manufacturer. I think it's etched on here somewhere. No, this was actually the Rodecaster Pro version 1 cover that I bought from Rode. But you can see that's the same one that's in this video right here. So identical, and this is actually that original Rodecaster Pro. So Rode came out with this device, and what was great about it is that you had these pads for playing music, or you could record to them. You had a volume slider right here that you could use to raise and lower the volume. You also had Bluetooth built into this. And one of the things I really liked about this is that you had the phone port right there. So right here you had a, let me find it again. Right here. So right there you had a phone port, and that was really cool because you could plug your phone in and use the input from the phone, because you could do Bluetooth, but if you plugged it in directly, you got a better quality audio. And so now it's Bluetooth only. This port is gone in the Rodecaster Pro version 2. So even though the Rodecaster Pro 2 updates a number of things, you'll notice that these have just regular XLRs, where the back of an ATEM Mini Pro or an Extreme only has the little mini 3.5 jacks. These are real XLRs. This had really good preamps. So these were called servo biased preamps. It's right here etched on. And then also they introduced a purchase of Aphex. And Aphex was an interface that a lot of people used in the radio world. And it was a channel strip. So you could plug your microphone into it, and then it had this nice sparkle that you could get to your voice, as well as what they called big bottom, which made the bass, like in a male voice, sound really radio quality, and that could be adjusted on that channel strip. Well, Rode purchased Aphex and put the technology inside the Rodecaster Pro version 1. So I absolutely love this. It has 4 inputs, and then it also had a USB input. So you could bring the USB in from your computer. Here's the USB port right here. So you had one USB port, so you could use this with OBS. You could use this with Zoom. You could use it with any kind of your computer software. And if you could bring video in, and the ATEMs had the HD or the USB-C out, so you could plug your USB-C out of your ATEM Mini, switcher into your computer, and it would give you the program out, and then this would give you really good audio. Obviously, you had to plug a nice microphone into it, and I would plug the SM7B in. Now, the challenge with the Rodecaster Pro version 1 is that the preamps, which represent these XLR inputs, and the preamp is that signal gain that you get when you first plug your microphone in. So you'd plug an XLR in right here, channel 1, you'd plug this microphone in, and you can see there's an XLR plugged in right here, cable. And then this goes into the back of my Rodecaster Pro version 2 on my desk, and I have one behind me, so I'll bring that on camera here in a minute. But what I loved about this is it sounded really good, but this microphone needs a lot of gain. And so literally the best way to make this microphone sound good with this device is you need to get what they call the cloud lifter. And what does that do? It's just a device you put between the XLR and the board, and then you can send phantom power to it. And this device and most interfaces have a little 48-volt phantom power button you can turn on. Usually it's for condenser microphones, which is a different type studio microphone. This is what we call a dynamic microphone. And maybe we'll do a video on the differences. I've been talking about it for years, so we should do one. But this is a dynamic microphone. The SM7B sounds really good on voice, really good if you want that kind of radio quality sound. And then this is the Rode boom arm, which I have kind of high right now. But this device did not have a lot of gain. And so you would go in digitally, push this button, and then you could adjust the gain on here. And I'll plug these in a little bit so you can see the screen. And so it had the LCD screen. So everything came in analog, then it was converted to digital. And then you had the ability to raise and lower the volume going out of it by the sliders. And so you had the phone input on the back, and then you had Bluetooth channel right here. So I could bring a phone in on this channel, plugging it in. I could also bring another phone in through Bluetooth. So I could literally have 2 people phone in to a podcast and bring them on the air, audio only, right through these 2 devices. And I did that. And then I could play music back, and this is the music slider. And so these faders were assigned to those inputs, and that's a big change with Rodecaster Pro 2, where Rodecaster Pro 2, you can assign these faders to anything, and there's not as many faders on the Rodecaster Pro 2. In fact, it's smaller, and I will show you guys the comparison. So this video right here was recorded on April 26, 2020. So though I've been in this studio for 4 years, I was in that bedroom studio before that, clear back in April, learning how to live stream, playing around with Facebook, playing around with YouTube, and I hadn't launched officially live streaming every week. I was just live streaming once in a while for technology, and that was where I was practicing in there. And so this is, again, my first interface for live streaming in my studio, and I actually have had this for over 5 years. But it originally was in this studio as well 4 years ago. So this studio, 4 years, using the other studio as well, it was over there for about a year. And then I retired this to a mobile case and started using the Rodecaster Pro 2. So let's set this down. Plug the power cable back in because we're going to plug this in a little bit. I have my other microphone on right now so you guys can hear me when my back is turned. And that plugged in like this. So you guys can see that it's a locking power connector, where on the Rodecaster Pro 2, take the cover off. This is by Rode as well. It even has their logo on it. This has a USB-C power port right there. Let's see if I can turn this around. Let me switch to this other camera right here. So this has a USB-C power port, so I'm gonna unplug this, and it's really easy to break these. I've already broke one and had to send it back for repair, but this is the back of the Rodecaster Pro version 2. Hold this up so it'll focus. So you do have XLRs, but now you have 1/4 inch combined XLRs, so you can plug a guitar 1/4 inch plug in here, a keyboard 1/4 inch plug in here, XLRs, and you can see there is no phone plug anymore. So you still have 4 headphones, you have a right and left out, you still can put an SD card in this, so you still can hook it up to the network. It's also got a wireless modem in, but what changed is the size. This is smaller than this right here. So there they are side by side. See if I can get more in the camera. Shouldn't have plugged this in. Let me unplug it again. So there they are. Let's see if I can hold these side by side. So you can see the size difference between Rodecaster Pro version 1 and Rodecaster Pro version 2, and you can see there's less faders. So now you have to assign the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faders on the new version right here. You still have the same amount of pads. LCD screen is a little bit larger in the newer version. So we're going to cover this. So this has less faders than this. This is the new one. Sorry, this is the old one. So this has less faders than this. And so we're going to set this back down, and we'll talk about this right here. So what I liked about this is you have more options. There's a bigger processor in here. There's a bigger LCD screen. It's got less features. Again, it does not have the phone jack on the back. So I wish it did, but it doesn't. But you can still record to a micro SSD card. It still will USB-C to your computer, so you could use it with Zoom. You could use it with all the live streaming apps that you get on a Mac or a PC. But this has 2 USB-C ports, so I can hook up 2 computers at the same time. So I can hook up my PC to this, which I have hooked up to my Rodecaster Pro version 2, and I can also hook up my laptop. So I can have 2 different devices hooked up at the same time, which is great. I still can Bluetooth in a phone. I still have the right and left outputs to go to your speakers in your room. I have 4 monitor headphone outputs, so I can have four guests plugged in with 4 XLRs. They still offer phantom power, and this has got more gain, so I don't need what they call a cloud lifter for an SM7B. So mine's in my drawer, and I don't have to use my cloud lifter anymore because this has better gain. It's got a little bit better features, and they've done a lot of updates with this. So there's a lot more things that you can do with the Rodecaster Pro version 2 that you could not do very well with the Rodecaster Pro version 1. And I'm not going to go into all the differences, but this is the one I'd recommend right now. They also came out with a 2-channel version of this called the Rodecaster Pro Duo. And so that is also available. That has 2 XLR with 1/4-inch jacks in them as well, just like these jacks, but you do not have 4 microphones. And the other thing I really like about the Rodecaster Pro 2 is this has a built-in receiver for Rode wireless microphones. The Rode Wireless Go 2, which I'm wearing, and the Rode Pro, and the newest version they just came out with, and the Me, they will all wirelessly attach to this without having to use a receiver. So what's a receiver? Well, with all of the wireless microphones for years, you would have a lapel mic and a pack on, that's the transmitter, and somewhere else in the room, you would have a receiver. And so I have a receiver in this kit. If I'm not using it with my Rodecaster Pro, I can pull the receiver out, and this will receive 2 signals. It's got a little LCD screen on it. I can turn it on, and I can plug this into my ATEM, and my ATEM then will be able to receive audio from the lapel mic. But when I use my Rodecaster Pro version 2, I don't have to use this receiver. I can just simply plug this in, choose it inside my Rodecaster Pro 2 as an input, and then connect through Bluetooth, and then this microphone will connect directly, and it sounds just like this tonight. So this is the audio coming from this microphone right here, and it's more of a omnidirectional mic, so it's going to pick up more of the room. So you're going to get more room noise. You might even hear the noise in here of my laptop fan, which is pretty loud. But this mic is way more directional, so you put it right up by your mouth, and you're going to get kind of a less, what I would say is colored sound of what the room sounds like, where this microphone right here gets you more room, and it's a little bit further away from my mouth, right? So I had the SM7B about this far from my mouth, where this one's down here, and it was tilted a little to the side, so you're going to pick up more of the room. Now my body is stopping it. It also can pick up a little bit of sound from my chest. So some people will actually mount this over their head and then talk into it. But again, then you get further away because you don't want it on camera. So now to hide it off of camera, I'd probably have to have about that far away, where if you can see down here, it's about this far away. And if it was going to be above my head, it would be 2 or 3 inches further away. So the best use for these is not on your body, but that's the way they're designed, is to clip on. And I'll switch this back off, and it can just clip on, or I can use the magnet. And these have a little magnet. So part of the reason I like the Rodecaster Pro 2, and I'm using it now, probably should use this microphone. These have a clip on them, a magnet, as well as a clip. And sorry, I didn't have this microphone up to me. So these can be magnet on you or clipped on you, either way. So I could just take the clip and clip it on, but I don't like it facing a direction. So I use the magnets, take the magnet, put it behind my shirt, and then clip it on. And I could put this closer to my face, but I'm putting it between these 2 buttons. And I also don't want to pick up just the sound that comes from this part of my voice. I want it to hear what's coming out here, which is the better audio. And so with it right where it's at right now, you are picking up the Rode mic. And if I moved it closer to my up here, it would sound like this. So you guys can hear the difference up here underneath my chin and then down here further down my shirt. So that is a huge advantage of the Rodecaster Pro 2, and this is the interface that I use starting in year 2 in this studio, about 2 in a few months, as well as I have the second one on my desk right now. So I have 2 of these. So one of these I was able to purchase with an Extreme A10 Mini Extreme ISO, and so I bought this Rodecaster Pro and the ISO together, and so I've had this in my mobile kit. So I have a mobile kit with my A10 Mini Pro, and then I also have a kit to use this. So I'll take this like to some of my clients because I recommend the Rodecaster Pro version 2, and I'll take this with them to show it to them before they buy it. So I give them a little bit of a run through on this. I give them a demo. They get to listen to themselves. I take headphones with me so they can actually test what this is going to sound like when it's my client, and I can do some training on this. And then when theirs get there, I'll just go over and train them on theirs. But this is a great tool to take with me. I've also rented out or loaned out my Rodecaster Pro version 1, which technically belongs to my wife, Shannon, because we purchased it originally for her podcast. And then we moved the podcast into this room. And so when I moved into this room, I took her Rodecaster Pro version 1 and kept it in the studio until I updated it. And then now it's just in a mobile case, and it technically belongs to her and her business. But I've used it for clients. In the old days, and now we take this one because now I do all of my work through Life Journey Productions. And back then I was just volunteering to help people train them. So this is year number 2 for me, this interface. And then just to go back in time just a little bit, way back in the day, I was using this, and I still use this occasionally. This is a great little mixing console. It has 12 channels. The 1, 2, and 3, and 4 are independent, and then 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12 are designed to be stereo or mono. And so again, you only have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 faders, but you in reality have 12 channels, but you have to choose one or go stereo. Great for like keyboard, great for like lead guitar where you're going to stereo it, but not so great for everything else when you have to use it. Let's push this out of the way. Use it for live events. So this is more in the old days, one of my live consoles before I purchased the other consoles we're going to talk about tonight. So this isn't a part of the last 5-year journey in the studio or my other studio, but this is a console that I was using live. And I'll talk about the Bose system that I have in a podcast coming or a live stream coming up very soon. Going to set it up here in the studio, let you guys listen to it. It's the L1 Bose unit. I'll show you guys a picture online here in a second. So that's what I would use with this. Now I have my Yamaha speakers and my monitors, so I could use those. This has got basically all the outputs, none in the back, really. In the back you have power and the power switch, and it uses this kind of cable now, more of a traditional cable like all of my new speakers do. I don't know what the name of this is. But again, you can add effects. This has got some built-in effects right here. So not only is this an analog board, it's got digital built into it. The effects are right. You have an EQ right here, and you have effects built in right here. So you can choose the effects, and then you have your auxiliaries and your effects controls right here. So you can see up here what other inputs you have. You have RCA in and out. You also have these right there. So I have stereo aux returns right there, and I have an aux 1 and 2 send. So I could then have, or actually I really only have a effects send, which I could use it as a monitor send as well. So I could have 2 monitors if I wanted to with this on the stage, as well as 2 mains. And obviously I could do subs, because you would go from the XLR outputs right here, right and left. You would go to the sub, and then from the sub up to the mains, and that would then use the crossover. And if you don't know what a crossover is, all it does is when you have a sub, you plug into the sub first, and then it'll take out the low frequencies before it sends the low frequencies up to the mains. So your mains are just going to give you your mids and your highs, and your subs are going to give you all the sub frequencies. And that's really cool. It's called a crossover. This would have to have a sub that had a crossover built into it. And on the back of the sub, it'll even sometimes have a choice. Do you want to cross over at 120 hertz? You want to cross over at 100, 75? Usually those are the 3 typical choices that you're going to see on subs. So if you set it for 60, then everything above 60 would go to the main speakers, and everything below 60 hertz would be the low push out of the subs. You set it for 120, everything above 120 hertz goes to your mains, and everything below that comes out of your subs. And then you want to have your subs right below or right next to your mains, so the sound hits everybody as close to the same time as they can. So this is just a typical board. This is a Mackie. The model number of this is here somewhere, a DFX12. And I'm going to put links to all of these in the description. They're not in there now, but I'll put a link on there, even some Amazon associate links. So if you use those, you pay the same, but the channel will get some support. So this is not a part of my 5-year journey, other than I've used this in the last 2-3 years again, but not here in the studio. It's been at other events, live events, where we needed a small board. This is a great small board. I have a nice bag for it. And again, just take this in, take my bag of cords and my microphones, and I can go on the road with this. So even though this has never been used as an interface in the studio, I wanted you guys to see this. So I've really used 3 main interfaces in the studio: the Rodecaster Pro 1 and the Rodecaster Pro 2. And then I demoed sound from the PreSonus Studio Live 32 SC console, which is on the table as well, but I'm not going to pick that up. It is way too heavy. So let me set this back down. And let me change camera angles here real quick. Turn the camera on there right now, and now I need to enable a sky cam here, so stand by. Okay, let's see if I can make this work. We don't want to do that. So let me just switch over here. There we go. So let me turn around here. You guys should have me on camera, and you can see this is the Studio Live console. I'm on that camera right there. Let me know if my lips are in sync. I did the best thing I can, but this is the Canon 5D Mark III that I used in my bedroom last week. And again, that was showing off the ATEM streaming bridge, which is right here. And I'll talk about that here in a little bit, but you guys are seeing the 32SC console right here. And again, it's 32 channels. And I can switch camera angles here real quick. Let me find it here. Okay, I got to switch cameras here. Give me a second. Please stand by. Well, let's stick with this one here for a second. So, again, this has got this many faders and the main fader, and these are auxiliaries, plus you have 4 effects banks right here. And I've talked about this board on the channel before. This is what I'm using to mix live sound mostly, except for a board from my past, which we're going to look at here in a second. I don't have it here in the studio. It's actually hooked up over in Benton City right now. I was using it this morning. I was using it yesterday. I was using it Sunday. I'm training people on it. We're going to talk about that board here in just a minute. That's a blast from my past, and that is why we're going to talk about some personal stuff here before we go off the air, as well as I will be unboxing this and hooking all these up and powering them up. But so 32 channels, 2 banks, so I can bank from 32 channels 1 through or 16, and then I can bank over to the other 16, and these faders operate both banks. So just imagine same faders, but 2 sets of channels. And then I'll show you guys the back of this here real quick. So there is the back of it. Let me slide this forward. And you can see you don't have all the channels that you would need. You have to use digital stage boxes to get all 32 channels. Back here you have XLR combo jacks, as well as some 1/4-inch jacks, and then you have auxiliaries as well. But you really only have about 16 channels in the back, and they're not all XLRs, and you have 8 of your auxiliaries. But I have 16 aux sends that I can send out to monitors or in-ears or whatever I want to do. And so you need to have a stage box, which again, I've had here on the channel. I own 2 of them. So I can take all the channels from in this board. And what's nice about these new boards is that you can send a single cat cable, which is just like this cat cable right here, plugged into my my ATEM Mini right here on the desk, and I could send that from the back of the board up to a stage 300 feet, and that means I could send all the audio that I need to the stage, even to my main monitors if I want to, or I can plug my mains right in the back here. The mains out are right here, I believe, right here, 1 and 2. You can actually put an SD card in here. This is the network port that you're going to use to send a signal to the stage boxes or in-ears, and this is the one you're going to use to keep it on your network. And then you have USB port. You can record directly to this. You can also use this as a MIDI interface. So this has been the major board the last couple years that I've been using at live events, though I've only used it once in the studio to share audio from it, maybe twice here. So it's definitely been used in the last year, year and a half inside the studio, but I still use the Rodecaster Pro version 1 as my main device. So you guys still have me on camera. Let's go ahead and pop this open. So let's unbox this because we're going to use it. Now this is going to the venue that I'm doing an install on tomorrow, but I kept it here so I could unbox it for you guys. So this is the Pile Clean Power device right here. And so got the paperwork inside, the manual, a little promotion card right here with a barcode to scan, and this is 4 or 5 pages to tell you how this works. And then you have some foam holding it in. So we're gonna pull it out, it's super light. Throw the box down, pull these off. And you got the regular power cord that's built in. It's not detachable, which I actually like. Then no one will accidentally get my power cord. So let's open this up. And this is designed to protect you in a power surge. It also cuts down on RF frequencies that come through power. So you might have power in your house that creates a hum. And when you plug your soundboard into it through the jack in the back, just like this Studio Live 32SC, you plug it into a wall jack and you might get hum in your headphones and in your speakers. But if you plug it in here or in one of these jacks in the back, and you can see how many jacks are in the back, then it's upside down, then you can cut down that noise that gets into your device. So you can plug your A10 Mini Pro in here. You can plug your Rodecaster Pro version 1, version 2, the Studio Live, and you can even plug in the Mackie console in there as well. To make sure you're not getting any weird audio hum, because remember, the transformer is inside the device, and that can create a hum inside the electrical circuits inside the device, and you don't want that. So this is what you would get, I will put a link to this as well. I bought this on Amazon. I think it was $49 plus whatever it cost to get it here. And we're Amazon Prime members, so what we're going to do right now, so I'm going to get up and unplug all our devices into this. We're going to turn them on so you guys can see them all lit up. So let's undo the power cord. I'll plug it in. Rodecaster Pro 1 is in. Rodecaster Pro 2 is about to go in. Then the Studio Live. And okay. Here's the little brochure right here. Tells you all about it. Again, this is just the getting started, barcode, buy other stuff from them. Let's fire up this. Let's fire up this. Rodecaster Pro 2. And they are all lit up. So let's go to the other camera angle here real quick. So there is the Studio Live booting up. We got the Rodecaster Pro 1 and 2 lit up. And the lights on for the Mackie as well. So there they all are, all lit up. And we'll just zoom in here real quick. So there is the Studio Live. And I can bank over now And you can see I can change the faders on page 2 and then bank back. And there they are. So we'll do these 2 up and that one up. So as I bank back and forth. Now, the one thing this has that the other ones do not have, this has what they call electric motorized faders or flying faders. So they'll go back and forth. And then all of these are monitors. So if I wanted to send certain people to monitor 1, I push monitor 1 button. And you can see I had talkback assigned to it. So I'll bank all the way over, and I had these channels assigned to it on page 1 and page 2. I had nothing assigned, so we'll assign that. And then page 3, we'll assign that. So I actually have all of these different places that I can send signals out to monitor 1. So then you go over to the Mackie. There you go. A little bit better look at the Mackie down at it. We'll zoom in a little bit more. So you have your main faders. You have your channel 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you have combo 5 and 6. And then you have the return from your effects. I can choose a effect right here, different bank. So if I want a delay, 1, 2, 3, or 4. If I want a cathedral room reverb or a gate reverse effect, a large hall, medium hall, large plate, medium plate, small room. I can choose all those, and then I can EQ, and then I have inputs for the combo jacks, 9 and 10, 11 and 12, 7 and 8, 5 and 6, all those combos right and left, and then I have mic ends, line ends for all of these as well. I also have lines in for this 7 and 8 and 5 and 6. So pretty powerful little board. You can see the Rodecaster Pro version 2 lit up. This screen is tilted to see better. And then you can see the Rodecaster Pro. Let's go over there. So this screen is tilted, where on the Rodecaster Pro version 1, it is not tilted. So you can see the difference between those two and the side-by-side size comparison. Let's slide this over. And in the software, you could bank over on the Rodecaster Pro 1, because there's software that works with both of these. There's software that works with this. No software with this analog board, but I can run this board off an iPad or off of a computer. This will interface with a computer. So I can push buttons to bank over to different pads. That's effects. And then this is just a blank set of pads. And that one I have to use software to go from bank to bank. So you can see this LCD screen's a lot nicer. It's also touch. So I can touch the different faders and engage the gain. So a really good selection of boards. Sorry, let's go back here. And let me zoom out. So a really good selection of boards, and you can see that I could use this for live events, or I could use this for live events. This also could interface with my laptop, so I could use this. I'd only use it with my laptop or my PC. It does not have the ability to interface with 2 different computers, where this Rodecaster does, which is really cool. And so the Rodecaster Pro version 1 will only interface with 1 computer. So one of the greatest tools I have is this in my studio. So year 1, the Rodecaster Pro version 1, year 2, and that was a couple years, both in the other studio in the bedroom. This was the last 3 or 4 years. This has been around for 5 or 6 years. This board right here has been around for a couple years. So that's 3 of the boards. This one, the Rhodes, all have been used inside the studio. I've never used this in a live event. And then there's one more board that's like a blast from the past. That's what we're going to go look at right now. So let's go look at that board right now online. and I'll catch up with the chat in a minute. Give me a second. This board right here is the blast from the past. This board, which I'm now using, so here we are in year number 4 in this studio, year number 5 with me being on this channel. This board was the same board that I used in my recording studio. It's the PreSonus Studio Live. They had a 16 channel version. They had this 24 channel version. They came out with an AI version of the board, but this is actually FireWire. So you had to have a computer with a FireWire port, or you'd have to put a FireWire card in your PC, and then you would use it. FireWire is like way faster than the first USB-C ports, but not 3.0 USB-C ports. So you don't need FireWire anymore, but if you want to use this board with a computer, you have to have an adapter to do that. And so that board right there, the 2442, is now a board that I am using and training guys on for a venue that I've been working at with a ministry called Mandate 28. A good friend of mine, Drew Islander, is the director, president of Mandate 28. And so this board was donated to them. And so you can see the back. And one of the reasons that I really, really love this board is these 3 jacks on the bottom, because they also donated some in-ears, some Avion in-ears. And what happens is that these are called pre-insert balanced direct outputs. So what does that mean? That means that these are balanced outputs, so you can plug in a cable and then branch it out. And I'll show you that cable the next couple of weeks here online. I don't have it ready to show. But you can branch it out and plug in channels 1 through 8 out of port 1, channels 9 through 16 out of port 2, and then you can plug that in to an interface that sends the signal to in-ear units on the stage. And so because that in-ear unit was donated, we're using this board, and we have a adapter in port 1, an adapter in port 2, and an adapter in output 17 through 24, because we can patch these. So if I need to pull something in on channel 23 or 24 that I need in someone's in-ears, I can pull out maybe channel 15 and 16 and plug in 23 and 24 suddenly if I had to, and be able to patch it to some in-ears. The in-ear units that we have at the venue, they only will receive 16 channels. And again, those are Avion Pro 2s, and they only have 16 inputs, and so you can have 16 different channels brought into those in-ears, and they're direct feeds from all 16 of the first channels on the board, but I can feed 1 through 8 and 17 through 24 if I wanted to, or I could do feeds 9 through 16, 17 through 24 if I wanted to, but I have to patch those into the back of the Avion unit, and then the Avion unit sends it through CAT cable up to another unit that receives it. And the unit that we have is the Pro version, so it receives it, sends the signal to each individual in-ear unit, and that is then powered over Ethernet. So just like my new network box that I have for my Studio Live in-ears, 16Ms, this is the model number of the PreSonus Studio Live in-ears, they can be powered over the network cable, our network box through a network cable, but I can only do 4 at a time. But this unit that we have that was donated to this Mandate 28 ministry that I help train people how to run sound and train them how to use the board, it will do 6 or 8 in-ears powered over that box. And I will show those and some video footage of that in some live streams in the very near future. But I wanted to show you that this board right here is the same board I had in my studio. And I came out of the back of the first 8 channels and went into a very high-end 4-channel preamp, and then the other 4 channels went into some other units. So I love this board because it has these pre-insert balanced direct outputs, and right here you can see the FireWire ports right there that were in the back of it. So you could use it with a laptop two different laptops, so you could go to two different computers with this. So I used to have a guest come in and use his Mac, and then I had mine going to a PC in my studio. Later, I went to a FireWire. So I had that device right there as my main board in my recording studio. And so pretty cool that 15 years ago when I purchased that same type board from my studio, that now all these years later, 15 years later, I am back where I started again. That was the first real complicated digital board I ever learned, and I was using it in my recording studio all the time. And it's very interesting to me that I am back where I started in sound. And of course, that wasn't live sound. That was in a studio setting. Now I'm actually using the same board and training people how to use it in a live setting, because it's great for either one. It will interface with a laptop. You can use it to bring audio from your laptop back into the unit. Again, you have to convert the FireWire to USB-C, and all you got to do is just buy a converter cord that goes from FireWire to USB and plug that into your laptop, and you should be able to use all 24 channels. But so that is my 5-year sound journey. And again, it's 4 in reality in this studio, 5 counting the bedroom studio, but I've ended up back in time again because of this board right here. I've ended up back in time to this particular board, which is crazy when you think about it, because I have my history with all of these devices now. This was my live board before, this is my live board now, but I can use both of those. And now here I am using this board from my past, and that got me thinking. So pick up the covers off the floor. Let's go back to the SM7B and let's catch up in the chat. Sorry that took so long, but that was the first thing I wanted to talk about tonight. Stay tuned, because I'm going to reveal some things that I have been thinking about and processing because of this journey. 5-year journey took me back where I started, working with live sound, doing some training, and I'm going to talk about what I've learned and what's changing in my world here in just a minute. But I do want to take a second to switch back over to chat and say hi to people that have popped on tonight since I have been talking. So let's put chat on the air here. And thank you for joining me, David, Gary as well, Juris Design. Joe is here. It's good to have you, Joe. I missed you, I think, last week. Tim, it's great to have you. Grish is back for sure. I don't know if Grish has been here since the beginning, but he was the first guy to say hi today. David says, love watching hardware reviews. I'm such a geek. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Gary says, more power, Scotty. Yeah, Star Trek analogy. I love it. Woohoo! FireWire. Grish remembers FireWire. Yeah, that was a pretty high-tech interface back in my studio days. Again, my recording studio opened up in 2011. I think I had the downstairs studio running for 3 or 4 years. Then I moved upstairs and did just mixing and mastering in my upstairs studio. My wife, Shannon, took the downstairs studio over. We converted it. We took out the control room, desk, and all that, and she used that as her office, and then she used the other room for her midwifery clients. So my wife was seeing people, and the nice thing about our old house is it had its own entrance, so people could come and go through the side door, and my wife didn't have to have anybody anymore go through the house. And then that studio had access to our downstairs bedroom, so I could put a lock on the dining room door, and they would then use that bathroom during the day that Shannon had clients. So my wife's whole business with midwifery was in a separate room, and I moved upstairs. She helped me remodel the upstairs as far as funding it, and then I turned the upstairs of my house, one of our bonus rooms, into, actually we only had one bonus room, we turned it into a mastering suite, and it was about a little bit smaller than this room. I went from 700 square feet to about 170, I think is the math. Let's look at it real quick. I think that was 13 by 10. So let's do the math real quick. Oh, clear 13 times 10, 130 square feet. So I went from 700 square feet to 130 square feet, but I wasn't doing much recording then. I did some vocals. I still had some of my producers come through that studio. They could pick up the guitar, plug it into my amps in there. I had my keyboard, Roland keyboard in there. The RX-8 was in there. So had some nice tools in that studio. And later I sold all of those things and sold the desk I made for that control room, really cool desk that I designed and made. So that was the beginning of my journey with high-tech audio. And that led me to today, which is what? This is 2025. That all started in 2011. So 14, 15 years later. Now this board, literally, that is pictured here, the Persona Studio Live 2442, is a really good board. It does most of the things that you would ever want to do. It doesn't have a big LCD screen. It has the tiny one. It's mainly for system settings, choosing different reverbs and different effects. It has 2 effects banks. And it still has a fat channel. That is that whole blue section. That's also EQ faders. It also gives you readouts on every channel. So I really like this board. I've been running it now for about 5 weeks and getting used to it again. Reading the manual. We're getting ready to plug a laptop into it so I can show the guys how they can use it. And that is going to be the main board for Mandate 28 at the tents, as well as at the Mandate 28 Center that they are right now doing a kids camp at. So I will be back there tomorrow morning running that board for kids camp. They have a couple people playing, 2 singers, a keyboard, and a acoustic guitar, and that's every morning with about 22 kids plus volunteers and leaders. And it's really cool for me to actually not only go back in time, forward in time, and use the same board I had in my recording studio, but now get a chance to use it live in a live venue, which I never really ever did. And so that has been the weird, a crazy journey I have been on. So let's also say hi to one of my favorite guys too, and that's Tony, Quick Tech Solutions. Thanks for joining us tonight, Tony. So, okay. So let's talk a little bit about the elephant in the room. I don't have any elephants, but I brought a couple illustrations here tonight. So one of the things that I have learned over the years, I'm 64 years old. I just turned that in June on the 25th. And so I'm a lot older now than I was when I opened up my recording studio in 2011. You guys can do the math. And that was an 11-year journey from 2000 till today. So from 2000, the year 2000, back when they thought everything, all the power and everything was going to turn off, Y2K, that was kind of a precursor to what we went through in 2019 and 2020. And so my life kind of made a transition from 2000 till today. I'm still Keith Bennett. I still love technology. I still love communicating. I still have a lot of the same talents and skills. I have new talents and skills. I ran analog boards back in the day when I was younger. So I've been around live sound over a number of years, but this last 25 years has been kind of different. I've always been Keith, but what happens in our lives, and this is my point tonight, let's look at the poll first and see how many have given me permission. So 92% of you, 12, said that, do I have your permission to get a bit transparent tonight? So that means that almost, I think, 11 of you said yes. I don't know the math. And 1 of you said no. So if you don't want to hear me being transparent, this would be the time to go do something else. Maybe use the bathroom, maybe do something else. But I appreciate you guys answering that poll. If you haven't yet, please do, because this is a channel that I share with every one of you, and I want to be respectful for that. If you were in the room with me, I would still ask you permission to be really transparent, because I know it can impact you and it can affect you just like it's affected me. Let's also say hi here to Brian Sheehy Productions. You look 44. Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you, Tony, for happy birthday. And it's good to have you. Brian, let us know where you're from. I don't remember seeing you here before, but maybe I'm incorrect. So, not only has my life taken on new challenges, this is little tiny orange, right? Mandarin orange. I absolutely love these. I'm not going to eat it on the air because it'll make your guys' mouth water. But this orange, if I just bit into it right now, it ain't going to taste very good, because the goodness is inside this orange. And I'm using this as an illustration. I'll explain that illustration in a second. So most of us are going to peel this. I won't, because it's going to spill all over, but I am going to let you peek. Underneath the skin of this orange is the fruit. And that's really what people are going to want to bite into. Let's see if I can even get that to focus. I think I got, yeah, there you go. So you want to bite into that goodness. So if you want to get to the goodness of this, you got to get past the outer shell. And most fruit has some kind of outer shell. I have an apple here. It's a beautiful apple. I like to cut these up into slices. I don't like to bite into it. I can eat the slices with the skin on it. This has got a skin. I have a skin, right? So you're not going to find out what's inside of me unless you look down my throat, or you put one of those doctor things in my ear, or you look into my eyes and you can see into my eyes. They say the eye is the window of the soul. So we know that behind the curtain, there are individuals and people. You guys are all individuals, and that's really important to me. People that come to my channel are drawn for a number of reasons. I've had people say they just like how I present things, that I have a positive attitude. And I think there was times in the past that I was a little bit more up-tempo than I am right now. So for that, I apologize. But like the apple, which I could bite into as well, what I really want is behind the skin. The skin is not that tasty. I know some people that peel their apples. I think when they make apple juice, they peel off the peels, and then they shred up the apple and squeeze it and get all the beautiful juice out. So if it's orange juice or if it's apple juice, you got to get through the outer exterior to find out what really is inside. And that's part of what I want to talk about tonight. And so I was just minding my business one day in my living room, and I noticed this book on my wife's table in the living room, Living Fearless. And I was kind of at a point in my life where I felt like, you know what? I've been kind of hiding out inside the studio, right? Because it's safe, right? It's got that nice thick skin on it. People are outside. I'm not talking to you like you can chat with me and you can say things. And we get chat on the air, right? Like right now, we have some comments coming in. So this is Byron. He says, I'm from San Diego. I've been a subscriber for years. I usually sit in the back of the room and lay low. Well, that's perfect, Brian, because that couldn't be any more timely. That's just the way things are, right? I'm not living very fearless. This is written by Jamie Winship. I will tell you a warning about this book in a minute before you go out and buy it, so hang on. But I am going to very highly recommend this book because it's really helping me take a look behind the curtain in my own life. And it's making a difference. And it was a book my wife borrowed from one of the gals that we met at Mandate 28. They have a meeting every Sunday night that we've been going to as often as we can. I'm usually the sound guy there. Though many of you know that I know sound, I know video production, I know other things as well. I don't really feel like that's my occupation of what I do. Life Journey Productions is more a consulting business, but Like the orange and like the apple, this book got beneath the outer surface and really started making me think about who I am. In fact, this book is mostly about identity. In fact, the guy that wrote this book was a police officer, ended up working for the United States government, and he even went as a guy this color, right? Same nationality as me, and he went to other countries and took teams there to begin to help people begin to look underneath the shell of what they really believe and decide if that's who they really are. What was their identity? Are they really living their identity? Because if you go with just you bite an orange, you may not like what you taste. To really find out what the identity of this orange, you got to look at the whole thing. And then if you pull the skin back and you were to ever bite into orange, if you'd never heard of them before, mandarin oranges, you never tasted one before, and you just found one and you decided to explore and peel it back or bite into it with the peel is very bitter. And I've met some people in my life that because of things that they've gone through, they're very bitter on the outside. But once you get past the outside layer, they're very sweet. So just like an apple, which isn't as bitter tasting when you bite into it as an orange, this, in my opinion, has more explosion flavor for me personally as a man in orange than an apple. But I love the taste of both, but they're entirely unique. This is an orange, and it's a type of orange, and this is an apple, and this is a type of apple. You can't tell me that's an orange, and you can't tell me that's an apple, because I learned as a little kid what an orange looks like, what color it is, and I learned even how to spell apple as one of the first things that I would see on a card to learn the letter A. And I learned to sight spell and sight read. So a picture of an apple and the way it was spelled was super important to me, because if I couldn't remember what the apple spelling looked like and relate the A for an apple to that I couldn't spell at all. In fact, no one taught me phonics. I didn't learn phonics until I was a teenager. I learned I was born in 1961. I think I started kindergarten in 1964 and a half, 5. And so when I started learning the ABCs, it was in kindergarten, and it started with pictures of apples. And I think O was an orange as well. And that's why I brought those on the camera. So learning how to spell it, learning what it looks like, isn't the same as biting into it. Stay with me because I'm going somewhere. And this is going to reveal a little bit about what I haven't talked about. This, my friends, is an industrial, pretty cool toaster. This is the kind of toaster I have now. When I was growing up, we had like the silver 2-slice toaster. But this is designed to take different types of bread that you can fit in here and toast it. Now, I know people that have done cheese sandwiches in there. I wouldn't recommend. The cheese will melt in there. But mainly this is designed to toast bread. Its main purpose is to toast bread. You have different temperatures to toast it, more crusty, more burnt, less burnt. But you have the ability to do 4 slices, and you have 2 settings. So my wife could have her setting in the first section, and I could have my setting in the second section, even though they usually tell you if you're only doing 1 slice, put it right here. But why did I bring a toaster in? Because years ago when I was a teenager, I took a walk with my brother, which was very rare, and behind our house was some trees, and it went down the hill to this very, very old 150, 200-year house. It was like an old farm mansion, and it was filled with junk. And when I got there the very first time with my brother, I walked in, and I was amazed that they had junk everywhere. They had open cans, they had Wheaties, they had things that they had bought, clothes in the dining room, the kitchen counters were covered, the kitchen table was covered. And as I was walking from the kitchen into the dining room, to wait for my brother who was going in to talk to someone who lived there, I waited. I was so overwhelmed by the side door into the kitchen, and then from the kitchen into the dining room, and every different room of the house had a separate door. It wasn't an open floor plan like our house where you can walk in the entrance, go to the living room, go into the dining room, go into the kitchen. No, there was a door and a wall for everything. Every room in the house had its own section, just like the orange has its own section. and the Apple has its own section. So I'm standing in the dining room, and I noticed as I was walking from the kitchen to the dining room, on the floor was a brand new toaster. I knew it was a brand new toaster because the cord was still wound up, had the twisty ties on it, and it had plastic on the cord. And the toaster was holding up the door because the doors would close. The way they were weighted is that they wouldn't stay open. And there was so much traffic and so much junk on every chair in the dining room table, on top of the dining room table, that I had to find a clean place to stand on the floor. So I was completely overstimulated, but I couldn't get out of my brain the toaster on the floor, because the toaster was a door opener or door holder, was a doorstop. And I'm a little kid, right? I'm probably 12, 13 at the time, maybe 14. I can't quite remember. I think I was 14. So this is back in the 70s, BG season here in America. But in that era, I knew that toaster. It was just like the toaster that we owned. I had one in my house at the time. I had friends that had that toaster. I knew how to use that toaster. I knew you needed to plug the toaster into power. You needed to put a piece of toast or two pieces of toast in it. You push the button down, and whatever the timer was set at, some of them had a little slider in the background, that thing would pop. A lot of toasters only had like one flavor, like, you know, how burnt the toast was going to be. So you'd have to pop it early, but it would eventually pop on its own. So why is that whole toaster story important? As a little kid, 14 years old, little kid to me, because I'm 64, so that's literally 50 years ago. I've learned a lot since then. But in those days, I knew a toaster was meant to make toast, not to hold the door open. And that little picture in my mind bothered me for a long time because I related to the toaster. I didn't really quite know what my purpose was, why I was here, or what I was on this planet to do. In fact, if you had told me an orange, oops, what did I do? Okay, we're trying to figure out what is going on here. I'm sure I hit a key here. So let me turn the keys off. Now my mice are not moving. Stand by. I will sort this out. There you go. Me and a logo. Okay. Like an orange, if you told me I was an orange, number one, I know I'm not an orange because I knew what it was. But if you told me what I was, I would go, okay, because I didn't really have a clue who I was. And even at 64, this book has made me ask some serious questions. So I wanted to go back in time and let you know that when I started my recording studio, it was because I had just gone through a season in my world that challenged me down to my very core. In 2000, I left one occupation and came back to this area where I had grown up. And I kind of took a new journey. From 2000 to about 2002, I did some of the same things. In fact, here's what I wanted to let everybody know, that before 2000, I was a pastor. Maybe some of you guys have already figured out that followed my channel for a while, but from the time I was 15 years old to the time 2000, I came back here to this local area, and I ended up starting to sell RVs in 2001, and I did that for about 22, 23 years, and during that time, occasionally, I would use some of those skill sets that I learned as a pastor. I'd use it in talking to customers. I spent hours meeting with couples, doing marriages, doing funerals. I met with families that just lost a family member through an avalanche, with a 3-year-old daughter and a 21-year-old wife. One of my best friends' son and two other boys got hit, T-boned. All 2 of the boys died. My son's best friend, Levi, passed away from head injury. I met with his family. I did the funeral for those 2 boys. 2 of those 3 boys had a service together in my church And I had to stand in front of those people and help them through that season. Not only did I do that, I helped with working with children. I worked with my soundboard. I hired one of my friends from this local area to come set up our sound and make it better. But I wanted to let you guys all know that part of the identity of who I am inside is still that pastor. Even though I might be doing live streams, I may not talk about any of that here. It's part of my identity. It's 20 some odd, well, from 2015, when I made a decision that there was a reason I was here, and I took that toaster illustration and I realized that that toaster, if it's ever going to fulfill its purpose, it needs to be plugged into power. It needs to be on a kitchen counter somewhere or at a break room or someplace where people could put toast in it and push it down and let that toaster start fulfilling its purpose, and that's popping out toast. People putting toast bread in, pushing the button down, and toast coming out. And I have felt at times like that toaster in the last 25 years, because there's parts of me that I know that if I was plugged in and I wasn't afraid or hiding inside this studio, and part of me I have been hiding, though I thoroughly enjoyed every minute, and I'm not going anywhere. In case you're thinking that this is me saying goodbye, I'm not saying goodbye. I'm only telling you this because as I've been reading this book, Living Fearless, by, again, Jamie Winship, it's been rocking my world. It's been reminding me of my identity, and my identity, believe it or not, comes from my creator, and my creator is God. And most people I know have a belief in God. And people go, Pastor, what denomination? None of that really matters to what I'm talking about tonight, because I want you to understand that underneath the live streaming, Life Journey Productions, ATEM minis and all that stuff, if you guys wonder what's been behind the curtain, that's ATEM Mini Keith, that's ATEM Extreme Keith, that's Rodecaster Pro Keith, that's this studio Keith, photography, videography. I love working with people. I love communicating, but more than that, there's also Pastor Keith. I traveled and spoke in high schools with my friend Monty Ingersoll. He would sing and I would speak, and I did large gatherings, large high school assemblies, and told some of my stories. I also worked with puppets with children when I was younger. Many of you guys know I'm a ventriloquist. So when I was a real young pastor, I worked with children every single Sunday. And I had not just the puppets that you guys have seen here on my channel, which I've reluctantly brought out because it reminds me of another time and season in my life, which I had behind the curtain, right? So you guys got a glimpse of Keith the ventriloquist and why those puppets are so important to me, because I use those puppets to communicate with people. Adults, children, all ages love puppets, and I use that as a communication tool, just like I just used a toaster to make a point. I am like that toaster. I am getting kind of plugged back in to my identity, and my identity is from my creator, and my creator is God. And sometimes the tragedies and the things you go through, the death of my father-in-law, the death of my mother-in-law in the last 5 years, before that, when I first started being a senior pastor in 1994, my mother died in month 3 from cancer. My dad got remarried. I gained other family members. I got brothers and a sister, stepsister. I have 3 stepbrothers. So lots of things in your life or challenges that you face can influence you, and it can make you pull away from your identity. And I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm not just Keith Bennett Life Journey Production Studios. I'm not just a ventriloquist. I'm not just a sound guy. I have a lot more underneath the surface than a lot of people on this channel know. And so if you by chance discover another version of me, please don't think that I am not being real to you tonight, because I am. I absolutely love talking about technology. I love training and teaching people. I love doing installs for people that have never gone to a church a day in their life. I love that. One of my most recent clients is Buddhist, and I absolutely adore that relationship and what I'm learning. And so I just shared that to let you guys know a little bit more about my past. So maybe you'll understand a little bit more about my journey and my future. So if you don't mind, the God part of this book, then go ahead and get it, Living Fearlessly. And I hope it'll help you ask some hardcore questions about your identity, because I'm rediscovering that just because I went through a hard time and I haven't pastored in many, many, many years, doesn't mean that I've lost that part of me. It doesn't have to be hidden any longer. That if I will just trust God, that he can peel back some of the bitter parts of my hurts and some of my wounds, that underneath that peel, right? All of us have scars. All of us have gone through things, especially those of you that are older like I am. Not to say that if you're younger that you haven't gone through them as well, because we all go through them. I was going through it at 14 years old. That was my God discovery season. Everybody discovers God at some point in their life, or whatever they think God is or about God. I just know without question for me that he is the one that gave me my identity. He's the one that made me do the things that I do. Even though I've learned it, I've studied it, I've comprehended it, he's given me the skills and the character and the quality and the personality to do the things I do. And so I want to give credit and honor where honor's due. I thank the Lord Jesus Christ and God, my Father, for taking me on the journey, so that in some places I'm comfortable out of the peel with some people, but not everybody. Everybody would like to wear this because it makes me feel a little safer, but I am learning that the peel doesn't necessarily define me. I need to start living a little bit more fearless. So this is my attempt tonight to get fearless. And so I hope that you guys will respect that and appreciate that. And if you want to go ahead, I don't think I've ever recommended a book on this channel before, but if you want to try out this book, I think it's like $10 on Amazon. Mine showed up in a day because we have a distribution center now in our area. So I think I ordered this on a Friday and got it because I wanted to replace my book that my wife borrowed. So I got her a copy and I got me a copy, and I'm reading the book now for the second time. So, and not just this book, other people that wrote have influenced me. So I would just check that book out. I hope that you guys enjoyed my blast from the past, because again, this board really got me thinking. This comes from my studio. It was a nonprofit studio. I was still trying to use my gifts, my pastoral gifts. I had connections with people that wanted to record music, both inside the church world and outside the church world. It's kind of where I fell in love with getting outside of the box of just the church building and the church world. That's what made me fall in love with working in RV sales. I got the chance to record rap bands, rock bands, Christian bands, non-Christian bands, everything you can imagine in my recording studio, all on a board just like that. And now I'm using the board again. I'm in a room full of a bunch of children. And I got a tear in my eye yesterday because I remember how important it was for me when I was younger to have someone there along the way to help me understand who I was a little better. And again, nothing wrong with the peel, nothing wrong with some clothes to cover you. But when this starts becoming your identity and no one gets to ever meet the real you, then that could become a problem. At least it has been for me. So that's my story. I'm sticking through it. And I hope that this speaks to you guys tonight. So get plugged in. If you've been on the fence, like that toaster, get off the floor, get on a shelf. The toaster can't move itself. It has to be moved. Sometimes we need the help of friends to get out of the rut we're in and move towards our future. So that's my story, and I'm going to end it there at 5:40. And let you guys know I appreciate you answering the poll. So let's go back to the chat here real quick and catch up. Let's see, chat on the air. So I've got Red Carpet Media. Which audio mixer are you using your go-to mixer? In the studio, it is the Rodecaster Pro version 2. That's what I have right here on my desk. I don't have my mobile phone set up tonight because I'm using the cord to do that other camera angle, which is off right now because my Canon 5D Mark III time's out. But Rodecaster Pro 2 in the studio. My Studio Live 32 when I do live events, and I'm using this PreSonus 32 24.4.2 15-year-old or 15-year-old console at the venue I'm training at, because that's what they own. So which is great because I have history with that in my recording studio. So that is what I'm using currently in my studio. So Red Carpet Media Marketing Group says, I have a Yamaha MG12XU, but recently got a Yamaha AG08 because of its support with YOLO Live InStream. Yeah, those are great consoles. I've never worked with those. I've been around Yamaha boards before, Allen and Heath. So great little boards. Yamaha, I love their products. I think they do a great job on their mixers. So good for you. Brian Shearley Productions. It's quite interesting how such trivial things can make a lifelong impression with a child, just like the toaster doorstop that affected you. Yeah, I think we all have stories. I wish I could sit and talk to you guys individually. In fact, if you're ever in the Tri-City area, Richland, Pasco, Kennewick, or close, let me know. I know a few people have popped on from Spokane. I would love at some point to be able to sit across from you and hear your toaster story and maybe your concept or idea of God. I'm not here to try to tell you that I have all the answers, because I don't. I am still on my journey at 64 years old. Maybe when I'm 100, I'll have more things figured out other than how to teach people how to use an ATEM Mini Pro or a Rodecaster Pro 2. So thank you, David. I appreciate that. David says, beautiful story. And again, if that didn't pop up, there is Brian Shealy's comment. Amen to that. Red Carpet Media, thanks for sharing. You're welcome, Grish. My honor. I'm a pastor kid who is with technology. Laugh out loud. Yeah, and I have a great soft spot, I got to tell you, Grish, for PKs. That's short for pastor's kid. My kids, my oldest son, Christopher, which has been on my channel before, he went through a really hard time. Not only did I go through kind of a hard time my last couple of years in Newport, my son went through it as well, which was a part of my challenges. And I'll talk more about that in a future video, maybe not on Tuesday nights. But if you like that part of my story, just keep watching. I will let you know or announce that. Or come to my quarterly Zoom calls, and you can ask me some more questions about the background when we're off the air and we're just face-to-face on Zoom with other people from the channel, because it's not live, but you get to be face-to-face with other people on that Zoom call when we do the quarterly Zoom gathering. So Tony says, what an inspirational story. Thanks, Keith. Thank you, Tony. You have been an inspiration to me. Doug says, enjoyed and benefited from you sharing your backstory. Grish says, hello from Spokane. Speaking of which, yeah, it's Grish from Spokane. Now, I will be let's see, we're doing a tent in Moses Lake. I'll only be there 2 days setting up. That I think is like the Monday and Tuesday of August 22nd, 23rd, the 24th. I'm coming home to pack, and then I fly out to Tulsa. No, not Tulsa. I'm flying to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and then Shannon and I are going to spend a couple days in Nashville, Tennessee. Sorry, not Tulsa. So Grish, I will try to let you know Tuesday before I get into Spokane, and maybe we could connect up. I would love to hear your story about being a pastor's kid, because again, I have a heart for pastor kids, because I've had 3 of my children grow up in church, and my youngest son, Bryson, only a few times did he have to go through what my other siblings went through. They were like church all the time. Bryson was a part of a church plant I did over in Kennewick called the Living Room Community Church with my good friend I used to travel with and do high school assemblies with, Monty Ingersoll. He asked me to come and help do admin. I left the RV industry for 2.5 years and then went back, and I actually was there to do all the administration. So all the setup, tear down, working with all the teams. That's what I did for 2.5 years, which again, part of my life, but it wasn't really being an admin guy wasn't really the orange. That was the outer shell, and I was comfortable during most of that season for that. I slept on the beach before until 2 a.m. when people stayed behind being consulted. Wow. I've been there, done that, laugh out loud. So, yeah, so some of us have things in common when it comes from that world, my story. Other people have things in common from this season, this story. I'm a conglomerate of all of it. So I'm not an orange. I'm not an apple. I'm not a toaster. Those are just illustrations, but they do help me process what I am personally going through right now. And my hope is that I'm going to become stronger in my identity, comfortable again with some of these things I haven't done a lot with, and be able to shake off some of the titles and some of the descriptions of what people think I am, because they don't know the real story. So until I reveal this to them, they'll never know why I became a ventriloquist, my history being a pastor, a youth pastor. I traveled, was a speaker in camps and retreats and high schools, junior highs, worked with all ages of people, but they don't know that because they're not exposed to that part of me. So why would they identify me and that identity when I've hidden it? So I'm hoping that I'm going to start living more fearless. And I thank you guys for taking tonight's journey. I probably won't talk a lot about this in the future live streams, but I did want to share that tonight. I love my sound journey that I've worked with all of these boards, and I'm hoping I get to learn more different boards that are out there. I hope I get to learn a lot more than just live sound. I'm hoping one day, I have a friend that just got inspired, and he wrote a song, and he had an AI produce it, which is really weird. Maybe I'll bring him on the air and he can tell that story. But the song is really good. I told him he needs to copyright it and he needs to get it produced. And he asked me, I don't know how to do that. I may produce that song for him because I've had a recording studio before. I could use my Studio Live console. I have a good friend of mine that's got an amazing voice. His son plays guitar and he plays keyboard. So who knows? I may be producing this song that was inspired from me sharing some of my personal orange story with my friend. He said it inspired him and he wrote a song. It was really out of his heart, and that was quite an honor. So thank you guys so much for taking the journey with me. I think I'm going to hold off and talk about the streaming bridge next week on the live stream. What I want to do is take you behind the scenes. I'll show you kind of where we're going to go here. Let's change what I have on my screen right now. See if I can get this to fire up while I'm live. And I don't know if it's going to. So the challenge with being on air is sometimes I can't access some of these tools. So here's what I'm doing. Let me cancel this. I'm attempting right now to go in under File, Connections, ATEM Setup, and I don't see it popping up. There it is. And next week, we're going to talk about the ATEM Mini Streaming Bridge, some of the input changes. you can see that I am in firmware. Where's the firmware here? 9.7.1. That's the newest firmware for the streaming bridge. And if you remember last week before we went live and I used my streaming bridge, so make sure you check out the video that's going to launch the next 2 days. It's only about 32 minutes of both the stream from in this room and the stream from my old studio where things started 5 years ago. So I actually set up in there and I showed a clip of that at the beginning of tonight's stream of that room from Facebook that I streamed on. So I streamed from here in YouTube and from that room on Facebook at the same time using the streaming bridge. So next week, I want to tell you more about the streaming bridge. I want to show it to you. I want to show you what all the features are, the firmware, what it can do now that it couldn't do when they first came out with it. And we will cover all of that in the live stream next week. So let me disconnect from this, cancel, exit, and bring my software back over so I can end this stream. And then next week, we're going to talk about some other things. I'm going to take some video footage of this install I'm doing. We hung in this venue, which is being leased. My friend is trading leased costs for remodel. So he's doing some painting, some sheetrock. We just took 2 speakers that he had donated, 2 JBL speakers, and we hung them in the venue, and they sound amazing. That's what we're using for the kids camp every day this week, which he got in trade for us installing the sound system. So rather than writing a check for the lease all week, which would have been lots of money, he traded the work and I volunteered, and we hung 2 Yamaha speakers, JBL speakers in there. So I'm going to take you guys behind the scenes, and we're going to show you some of the things we're doing in that venue. I'm going to show you the console that I talked about tonight, the Studio Live 2442. I'm going to bring some video footage back in the studio. And I don't think I'm going to live stream there, but I am going to show you guys some footage, show you the install, some of the things that we're doing inside that studio where I have been volunteering to help my good friends. So awesome. Okay. Before I leave, Tony says, have a great week. Juris Gary says, enjoyed the stream. Key tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you did enjoy the stream, please hit the like button. Please don't be confused when my video comes out in the next couple days. It is a condensed, combined video that has both the Facebook footage, which I downloaded, and the YouTube footage, so I can demo how I live streamed in 2 locations from 2 different studios using the streaming bridge, and 3 ATEMs. So that's last week's live stream, but you can't see all the pieces come together until I launch this video. And again, it's edited, should be able to be reviewed in the next 48 hours. I'll get that up and you guys watch that as well. So thank you for hitting like. Thank you for answering my my poll tonight. I have 13 votes. 92% said yes, be transparent. You gave me permission. And again, the 8%, I apologize. Hopefully nothing I said tonight freaked you out or scared you away from me. But I hope to see all of you guys again here live. And shout out to my adopted sister, Angie Tunnell, for joining us live tonight. That is her handle, right? Let me find it right here. She has a channel, Coffee and a Chat. I influenced her starting her Coffee and a Chat channel. She just basically goes portrait on her channel and talks about her relationship with God, the challenges that she's faced in her life. And she is a adopted older sister. We're not related blood-wise, but she is very much like an older sister to me, and I've only had a younger sister by blood, so it's been great to have her in my life. So a shout out to her and all my other friends here on YouTube. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your journeys with me. Thank you for so many of you who have actually consulted with me or been on a Zoom call. In fact, if you need help with your studio or you have a question of something that I've covered in here, you can take advantage of a free consult, 1 hour on Zoom I will drop the link in the chat here right now. Here is my webpage, and you go over to the contact page right here, and I have a form. If you've never taken advantage of it, or you just have a question and you want to get an email back from me, you can go in here and we can start an email conversation. You don't have to take advantage of the free 1 hour Zoom call, but I will be more than happy to do that with you. And let me copy this in to tonight's chat, so it will be in here for everybody. Get my mouse up here. Where are you? My prompter. Let me paste this in. And there you go. The link is now in the chat. So I like to help people. That's my way to continue, be this version of me. That 1 hour is me wanting to help you on your journey with live streaming or video production or photography. Maybe you just want to ask me more questions about the light meter, which I touched on last week. So don't forget, I talked about this light meter last week. And one of these weeks, I should do a whole live on how to use these and demoing how you can get really good, almost perfect lighting using a light meter like this. Mine is a Lightmaster Pro L478DR. There's a new model in last week's chat, not chat, but in the description, I believe, because this model's been discontinued. But this one will actually fire wireless pocket wizards, which is just a fancy name for a wireless controller for flashes. So if you want to do flash photography, you want to do video production, this is a great tool to get a reading on what the light is really doing and what the aperture and shutter speed and all that should be set at. So again, I am Keith. This is Life Journey Productions. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that 4-5 year journey. All the way back to the old studio and my story about all the different boards I've used in the studio and consoles I'm now using and have used outside of the studio. And I hope that you have a great audio journey as well, whatever you're using in your world. I really appreciate you guys sharing that with me. So until next week, I am Keith. This is again Life Journey Production Studios. I hope to see you in the next video.